Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. We're going to be discussing something that is near and dear to many different people's hearts, and that is customer management. It is a process that is vital to every business, and today we're going to be looking forward to sharing some tips as to how Infowise can make customer management easy. All right, so a real quick overview of my background. I've been working with SharePoint as an admin and developer for over 7 years now. I am a trainer here at Infowise, and I train individuals or groups on the Ultimate Forms solution. As a developer, I am focused on Microsoft products. After working with SharePoint, and specifically SharePoint Designer for so many years, I can tell you I was ecstatic to find something as simple and intuitive as Infowise. If you don't know, Infowise is a form solution focus. It really does help to drive user engagement by brightening up some of those oftentimes dreary colors we can see in SharePoint, like the blue and monotone gray. We pride ourselves on making things easy. This is a no-code solution, right? We are always finding new, fun ways of improving the product. Ultimate Forms is available both for on-premise and Office 365, and it deploys completely in the UI and is going to keep you from having to open the dreaded SharePoint Designer. All right, so some ground rules I do want to establish real quick. Please put your questions into the chat interface. A colleague of mine is going to be answering those as the session goes on. We are recording this session, and it will go on the Infowise site as well as YouTube, so you can view this as well as past webinars out there. This one here is going to be on there by the end of day today. Also, please don't let me forget, we are going to be giving away a free Infowise shirt. I have one that I cherish, and please stick around to the end and be involved in that drawing. All right, so, let's talk a bit about kind of the SharePoint out-of-the-box limited functionality. Well, first off, SharePoint Designer is going to be necessary to build any workflows, not just that, but most of us here, we're aware that there aren't going to be any new instances of SharePoint Designer after 2013. Anyone who has used it knows just how cumbersome and finicky it can be. Infowise eliminates the need for these complicated SharePoint Designer workflows. Not just that, but out-of-the-box relationships are often complicated, cumbersome to establish and maintain. And if you've ever used the default alerting system that comes with SharePoint and tried to add any sort of business intelligence in there, you're very aware just how restricted it can be. All right, well, then what about the out-of-the-box SharePoint UI? Well, first off, no meaningful indicators to allow your audience to quickly gauge the data. Out-of-the-box SharePoint lists and forms do not inspire interaction. Obviously, I can't see y'all right now, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you to go ahead and raise your hand if you find either of these two screenshots inspiring. And I'm going to go ahead and take the bet that no one raised their hand. Simply put, out-of-the-box SharePoint forms and lists are both ugly and complicated to work with. Okay, well then, what makes a good customer relationship management system, CSM? Well, contact management is essential, right? Super important. Making sure that you gather all the right information is important. Task management, it's at the heart of any good CRM. It's really what's going to be driving that relationship forward. Customization and personalization. We want a system that works specifically for our business, and not just that, but who's logged in at the time, right? Mobility means that teams can use this on the go, right? If you're combining this with Office 365, you're going to have a few options for that. Interaction reminders to follow up with contacts if an interaction has gone stagnant. Super important. More than anything, what we want is a CRM that is easy to use. Onboard customers easily, right? Don't have to use multiple systems. Putting data into different systems drives users insane. Okay, well, now that we've briefly discussed what makes a good CRM, why would you use Infowise to build your CMS CRM system? Well, the number one reason is that it is super easy to set up. Of course, with Infowise, you can build your environment to fit your own unique requirements and bypass those expensive off-the-shelf systems that don't actually cater to your business. Integrate with existing systems. Chances are, if you're here today, you are probably already using SharePoint and maybe even Outlook. Like I said, don't make your users input info in more than one system. It drives them crazy. So contact management is essential with any good CRM. Let's discuss contact management with Infowise. I dwelled a bit on just how painstaking creating relationships between lists and out-of-the-box SharePoint can be and just how not fun that is. Well, creating relationships is imperative for good contact management, right? You need to be able to track child records, child tasks, child documents, stuff like that. Here you can see I used the Infowise associated items functionality to create child tasks for a customer record. These tasks belong to the Oracle customer record. Here in a bit, I'm also going to talk about just how easy this was to set up. Okay, considering how cumbersome setting up an indicator or an icon is in out-of-the-box SharePoint, you are going to love just how intuitive the setup is in Infowise. Infowise is heavily invested in the information at a glance philosophy. There are tons of different icons that you can use to tell your story. Now, I've been telling you how easy this is to do, but I want to go ahead and show you. So what we're going to do is we are going to head into our customers list, and as you can see here, I already have a category column set up with a number of different choices and icons. There's finance, there's technology, and there's automotive, but some of these are kind of missing, right? But what we want to add is an other category that's kind of a catch-all for all these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my list ribbon, head into my design screen for Infowise. If you don't know what the Infowise design screen, here it is, nice and simple and laid out perfectly for you. I'm going to scroll down and head into my color choice area. If I wanted to create a new one, I'd simply type here, either show as icon or look at all the colors I can choose from to brighten up my UI. No more of those monotone blue grays. But since this is already established, what I'm going to do is just go here, category. It's going to show me the choices that I already have. I'm going to add another one in here called Other. I'm going to show you the icons. Look at this. Tons of icons to choose from. Since Other is kind of a catch-all term, I'm going to use a globe. Just press Add and then Update. Infowise is going to let us know that that updated successfully, right? Then I'm going to head back to my site because I want to show you what we just did. So in my customers list, we added a new icon. If I went in here and I said, all right, Other. Boom, there's my icon. It was that easy to set up. Even if I wanted to copy and paste this into these other ones like that, boom, there's my icon. That easy to set up. How difficult would that have been in out-of-the-box SharePoint? Okay, so back to our PowerPoint. I showed you just how easy it is to add icons compared with the, painstaking process that it is in out of the box. Well, establishing relationships is just no different. Setting up associated items makes establishing relationships between lists a breeze. It essentially allows you to model the structure of a relational database, right? And it really does help with these child lists to be able to go in and say, okay, this belongs to this record. Let's talk a bit about associated documents as well. SharePoint is a great content management system. However, sometimes the more it is used, the more confusing it can get. Users don't know which document belongs to which customer. Chances are users have created folders, and the naming standards that you agreed to have only been slightly adhered to. Get rid of these headaches with the Infowise Associated Documents feature. Have you ever had to have that mind-numbing conversation, what was the last task or document completed for customer XYZ? Then a frantic search ensues? Don't suffer the headache. Associated Columns establishes the relationship for you. I told you that it's never been easier to establish these relationships. Well, here's how you would do it. First, you're going to go into your child list or library, in my case, documents and task settings, and simply delete the existing content type of document or item from your list or library, and then add the respective Infowise content type. Then you're going to go to your parent list in your Infowise design screen and create a new column like you're seeing here. Infowise knows that I have added those content types in there and it suggests them for me. Boom, relationship created. Not just that, but using the generate associated tasks action type, I can easily create child tasks and set default values for these tasks, right? Use this to automate your business. Automatically set status and dynamically create due dates based on when the record was created. Easily set conditions and execute actions according to your requirements. There are 15 different action types that can be set up to be executed either by button click, timers, or user action with a new or edited record. Keep in mind that we are just barely touching the tip of the iceberg for what these actions can do. Projects that used to take weeks to build an out-of-the-box SharePoint can be built and tested on the fly. And if you've ever gone through the grueling experience that is setting up an out-of-the-box SharePoint workflow, you know just how painful it can be to test these and track the ones that have executed on an item. Instead, simply use action history. It's going to let you know what's been executed on an item as well as its result. How easy is that? Testing has never been simpler. I briefly mentioned the out-of-the-box alert system. It really doesn't let you add conditions or create different templates, which really limits what you can do with it. Super restricted. Instead, use the Infowise alert system to automate your alerts by adding conditions. Send a different template depending on if the item was added, modified, or deleted. With out-of-the-box SharePoint 2013, you actually cannot send alerts outside of your organization. So that is something we'll talk about a little bit more. Infowise does allow this feature. For that reason, I suggest separating your alerts into internal and external. Email can be an excellent reminder system to prompt users to complete tasks. Here in this screenshot, you could see that I've created an internal alert, and I'm not going to want to send this alert if the status on it is equal to complete, right? So there's that. Not just that, but I've combined my actions. I created an action that says every time the status changes, go ahead and update the status change date. And if this hasn't been updated in 10 days, we're going to want to send an email reminding the person it's assigned to go ahead and make some action on this, right? Keep it moving forward. All right, so once again, I want to show you just how easy something like this would be to set up. So here in my customer tasks list, I'm going to go to my ribbon again and head into the Infowise alert screen right here. Infowise shows me all the alerts associated to me, and I want to go ahead and edit this new customer alert. I don't want this to send to me. Instead, what I want is for it to send to who it is assigned to. Boom, easy as that. It can send from me. Well, what if I wanted to send it not when something is deleted? It's as easy as that. Or according to a date column right there, if I wanted to do it according to my status change date, right? Not just that, but how easy is it to set up mail templates? All right, if I wanted to add a template, I would simply click right here. We'll call this new customer template. And I can easily add fields from my list. Okay, so the person it was assigned to, hey, you have a new customer. Please contact at, and then we can even add in the customer email. Right there, that's simple. And if I wanted to add in like a link for them to go directly to the item, I could easily do that right here. And since this is an internal alert, say I'm inserting a bunch of fields that are often changing, I could simply click this, which says highlight updated columns. It's going to highlight anything that has changed since the last email, letting users know what they need to react on right then and there. That's the information at a glance philosophy that we've been talking about. So I would just hit OK, and then I would add that right here. I could say, hey, I want this template for when something is added, this template for when something is modified, etc., etc. Setting something like this up in out-of-the-box SharePoint would be simply impossible. All right. So I gave you an example of an internal alert. Here's an example of an external email that introduces our new customer to their assigned to sales rep. Like I mentioned earlier, SharePoint 2013 out-of-the-box workflows do not support sending emails to outside parties at all. With Infowise, it's easy to build these alerts and custom templates for your business. I also mentioned customization and personalization. Honestly, I would suggest doing this really for any list where you're going to be using the people picker column, right, that's assigned to here, by simply adding a filter on the current user with the bracket me functionality. I have created a dynamic view that lets each of our users quickly find tasks directly related to them rather than having to wade through a list of irrelevant records. Yes, of course, I kept the all items view right here, but by establishing a my list view, I can quickly delve down and see what is relevant to me. I also use this functionality in my dashboard to ensure that as soon as a user logs in, the information that they see is immediately relevant to them, right? All right, so speaking of my dashboard, here's a quick glance at that. Having a central jump-off spot for your team is essential. This homepage was simple to make, and it gives the employees a jump-off spot to either input a new customer, see the tasks that are directly related to them, or the documents that are related to them that they either created or uploaded themselves. All right, so let's actually take a peek at my dashboard and show you some of the functionality that it includes. All right, so here is my dashboard. You can see it's very simple, right? Keep it simple. Always keep it simple. I used a view to combine this and just filtered on the bracket me functionality that we talked about to show only the tasks that are associated to me, and I could take it a step further and remove the ones that are complete. Same thing with the documents. These were either created or modified by me. I do want to show you what would happen if we went ahead and we input a new customer. All right, so I'm going to input a new customer into our customer list. All right, we'll say Dell. I can leave that blank, but since I want to demonstrate some alert functionality, I'm going to go ahead and add my email in there. And we'll call this other. So what happens when I hit save? A couple different things. First thing that's going to happen is that due to some actions I've created, it is going to create two child tasks for the initiation email and the kickoff meeting. Not just that, but it's going to assign them to people, set the status, and the due date for these tasks, right? So not just that, but it also went ahead and just sent me an email saying, hey, Steve, this is Robert Kathleen at Infowise. It was great meeting you. Let's talk in the next few days about setting up and how Infowise can help you. That was super simple, right? Just by inputting it, it went ahead and it sent that off to me. And we also talked about how customer tasks and customer documents with the Infowise associated type, how easy they are to work with. Well, I want to show you. If I wanted to see the tasks associated to HP, I could simply click there. Those are all the tasks associated to that. Well, what about documents? Same thing. All right, it's going to establish those relationships for me and keep those going forward. Also, I mentioned, hey, what about that personalization? Here in my customer tasks, you can see this is my all item view. Okay, well, here are some things assigned to my colleague Will, Garrett, stuff like that. Super simple to set up the my tasks view and just see things that are associated to me. All right, back to our PowerPoint real quick. There are just a few more features I'd like to discuss. Yeah, reporting on activity is an essential part of any CRM CMS system. The Infowise list search web part is perfect for dynamic or canned reporting. As with everything else Infowise, the team has really gone above and beyond to make sure that creating these advanced search profiles is just super easy to set up. You can combine the search with views for an even more powerful result. SharePoint is a mound of information. Empower your users to use this data to create a competitive edge. Here you can see an example of a search query and the resulting records. Allow management to filter to reports on an employee easily. You can see I easily filtered to things that are assigned to me. With the Infowise list search web part, you can chain up to 5 conditions together using the and or operator. Not just that, but you can save and reuse queries or have an admin create and share pre-saved queries so that you're not constantly having to rebuild the same report over and over again, like you sometimes have to do with your Excel reports. Let the data change behind this, and then you can just use that same canned report over and over again. Not just that, but interact with the data on the page. Say I was doing some QA and I found that this record was wrong and I wanted to update it. I could simply just click there, right there, and open the record and update it rather than having to navigate back to my list. That's a game changer. And of course, with any CRM, CMS system, charting is going to be an essential component. Infowise offers a charting feature that deploys simply in the UI with over 30 plus different types of charts. It allows you to control your list data as a configurable chart, control layout, background, font, and borders, easily summarize and display your list data by category, columns, and colors. Not just that, but anytime you want to visualize data, oftentimes it's important that you combine it first, right? So Infowise allows you to combine and use more than one data series in a single chart. Okay, so let's talk real quick out of the box versus Infowise Ultimate Forms head to head. Well, out of the box, relationships are cumbersome to establish and maintain. Instead, use Infowise and set up an associated item in minutes. SharePoint out of the box is super boring for users, mounds of data, but there's just no story. Infowise is heavily invested in the information at a glance philosophy and allows you to quickly tell a story with that data. You saw just how easy it was to add one of those icons. SharePoint out of the box functionality. SharePoint, it's stagnant. The alert system is super stagnant. It doesn't allow any templating or conditions. With Infowise, instead, you can send emails to internal or external parties like we talked about and add conditions and custom templates. Finally, SharePoint out of the box requires the dreaded SharePoint designer to do anything with workflows. With Infowise, you can use actions and build and test completely in the UI. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about a couple other features. Honestly, the feature stack in Infowise, it's so robust that there's oftentimes more than a few different ways to accomplish any requirement. I want to mention the Infowise signature field. Approvals and signatures, they're always going to be an important part of any business process. Adding signatures in out-of-the-box SharePoint either requires InfoPath or a third-party vendor such as DocuSign. Infowise signature column is super easy to set up, and it allows you to either use a handwritten or declarative signature type. The advanced filter functionality module, though we didn't have much time to discuss it here today, it's just another tool to further empower your users to drill down into that mountain of SharePoint data. It employs 8 different filter types, including user group picker, as well as the current item to filter the properties of a current list item, or even pass parameters through the URL or post form values. The Event Calendar Plus, if you've ever used the out-of-the-box SharePoint calendar, you know just how plain Jane that can be. The Event Calendar Plus web part allows you to combine data sources such as SharePoint lists, Exchange, as well as external databases. So, you could combine and have a team calendar and then just filter to different members of your team. 8 different views are supported. Also, data sources and categories can be colorized and filtered on, like I just mentioned. We briefly mentioned tabs and tabs permissions. These are essential to any business. Rather than having to, build your entire architecture around sensitive data, you can simply just specify, users in this group can't see this field. Okay, also, before I get too ahead of myself, I really do want to talk about, we will have a booth set up at SharePoint Fest Conference from December 5th to 8th. If you are planning on being at this conference, please, please, please consider stopping by. We really enjoy talking to customers, and we'd love to meet you face to face and kind of talk about Infowise. Okay, so now that I've shown you just how easy it is to build something with Infowise, let's talk a bit about just how easy it is to get started with Infowise. If you wanted to get started with Infowise and get a hold of this free 30-day trial, you could just come here to our home page, click this orange button right here. If you're on-premise, use this, Office 365. Office 365, you can simply just download the app file and follow these instructions right here. It should really only take you a few minutes. For on-premise, please go ahead and fill out this form. It's going to send some more information to us, and we'll get back to you with the download link. Now, I know I briefly mentioned it, but I want to just hammer home this point. This 30-day free trial is completely full-featured. We're not going to piecemeal any features. You're going to really get to understand just how easy Infowise is and just how easy it's going to make your life. And I also want to mention, along with purchase of the Infowise product comes unlimited support. We're not just going to leave you hanging out there. Once you purchase the product, we're there to support you going forward. Knowing just how robust the Infowise stack is and just how much there is to do, we do want to hammer home that we have some training options. The Ultimate Forms Kickstart training is included with purchase. It's a 2-hour session, and it's really going to jumpstart your ability to work with the Ultimate Forms product, right? The Ultimate Forms Foundation and the Ultimate Forms Advanced training, these are 5-hour-long sessions, instructor-led, and they're going to get into some in-depth solutions that you can build. Not just that, but we also have a tutorials page that's going to go into very specific use cases for different modules and kind of give you screenshots and kind of step-by-step as to how to build these. I'm pretty sure y'all are aware, but we do webinars monthly. We post our old webinars right here so that you can go in and learn things like how to build a timesheet system using no code, or get better at building forms in SharePoint, etc. We have reached that point in the webinar where we are going to start to take on some numbers. I have picked a number between 1 and 100, and we are going to be giving away a shirt. So at this point, if you could please enter into the chat a number between 1 and 100, and we're going to go ahead and pick a winner. All right. Go ahead and enter that into the chat. Give me a few more seconds. All right, we have a winner. If you could please go ahead and email me at robertc@infowisesolutions.com. I want to get some details and go ahead and figure out how to get you that shirt. Also, if you require kind of a product demo, or you have any questions for me, you can reach out to me, like I said, at robertc@infowisesolutions.com. If you have any product questions, you can reach out to us at sales@infowisesolutions.com. Now I want to go ahead and look at any questions that might have come in during the session.
Robert, who is the winner?
Sheila Jordan, you are the winner. Sheila, so please go ahead and reach out to me at, like I said, robertkathleen@infowisesolutions.com. Also, let's talk about some questions that we got. It looks like my colleague Will has been answering those as we go along. So I want to thank you all for coming out. Sheila, you're going to love that Infowise shirt. I hope you all learned a little bit while you were here. Any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. I look forward to speaking with y'all in the near future. And in the meantime, please enjoy developing.